The security cameras on my phone let me keep an eye on my place while I was in my friend's guest room. I could hear people moaning and the bed shaking. He looked like he was with my best man and groomsmen from the bachelor party last night. The Gold Coast had been a party spot since Friday. There were races on Saturday and a wild casino night on Sunday. On Sunday, we relaxed at the resort pool. Early on Sunday, Tom and Carl left. Later, we were kicked out of the hotel because of a found bag of pills and noise complaints. We tried to stay, and a lawyer friend even helped us. But we couldn't. It was a busy weekend, so we couldn't find any other rooms. We then flew back to Sydney late Sunday night. My best man told me not to go home but to stay at Tony's house and keep the party going since I didn't have to work until Wednesday. I no longer drink, and I don't take pills. I like being in charge more, but I joined them because I appreciated their work. We took a taxi and ended up at Tony's. Georgie, my fiancée, was in Sydney at her bachelorette party. When I called her, the call went to voicemail. A few months ago, she moved into my new penthouse because it didn't make sense for her to keep her old lease. Because I worked at a bank, her strict Catholic parents liked me enough. When people mixed drinks at Tony's, they passed out quickly. Before I went to sleep, I got a text message from my neighbor downstairs instead of Georgia. "Could you calm down?" The text said that some of us have to work tomorrow. I sent him a text message telling him that he had the wrong number. He quickly replied, "Just hold her down or suffocate her." It's impressive that you texted back with all that noise. I thought he was texting the right number because he was so confused. Why? I was lucky that I could check from where I was. The last owner of my penthouse, a wealthy Singaporean's daughter, put cameras in it. They were set up so that I could access them on my phone when I moved in. First, I logged in and looked at the camera in the living room. An empty beer bottle, wine glasses, a bong, and a bag of pills were shown on the table. There are clothes all over the place, but no one can be seen. I switched to the camera in my bedroom because of noise from another room. The moonlight in my bedroom showed a group of 3 lying on my bed. Someone said, "I've missed you." Georgia replied, "I've missed you too, Tom." I was shocked. My fiancé and best man Tom together, which wasn't a surprise. "Isn't Adam enough for you?" Tom asked. "He's too big." "Carl, don't stop. I'm almost there," she replied. I sat down because I was shocked. He was seeing my best man and another groomsman while he was with me. Even though I was mad, I knew I had to be smart and not act quickly. I made sure that the security system was keeping track. It recorded for 24 hours. The video was a little fuzzy because of the clouds, but Tom and Carl's voices were clear as they talked about hooking up with Georgia in the past. She was also interesting, which was proof enough for me. The guys went to get drinks after they were done, and when they came back, they continued to talk and touch, which added to the evidence. Tom told her, "I want to bed you in your wedding dress." "I won't have it until the day before," Georgia said, "so you'll have to wait until after the honeymoon." She always plans ahead. Not at all. "That was on the wedding day," Carl added, "when he was being a jerk. How are you going to make that happen?" Georgia laughed and said, "You bad boys." Adam and I checked out the reception site. It has a room on the side where the band plays. Tom, who was feeling smart, said, "We'll take turns distracting Adam while the others have fun with you." "Who are all 4 of you?" Georgia asked with a smile. "What else would you want?" Carl laughed. "I guess not. I'm not going to use birth control then, you know. Adam is eager to begin a family right away. You guys are going to bet on my fertile eggs." Georgia admitted, "Just thinking about it makes me hot." How did I miss everything? "Yes, me too." Carl told them to go down there so he could show them how hot it would be. "Carl, don't stress out. We have most of tomorrow and all night." Georgia said, "I'm not picking Adam up until 5 p.m. Girl, don't be so tight. Start doing it." Tom pushed Georgia's hand into Carl's lap and said, "You know you want to." When she began to talk to them, the room filled with the sounds of their groans and slurping. Tom watched as Carl jumped on her back. Georgia was loud and active, which is why her neighbors were mad. After seeing enough, I turned off the security feed. The recordings were kept safe on a hard drive that I hid in my closet. To get back at Tony and Jeff, I went to the living room while they were still asleep. While getting a beer from the fridge, I saw an old newspaper article about adding drugs to drinks, which made me think of a plan. Right then, my phone rang again. It was my neighbor calling to say that he had called the police about noise. Just the right time. I was the one who called the police. You've reached the police in NSW. What can we do to help? Oh my God, you need to come to my apartment. I believe my fiancée is being hurt. I faked being scared. Keep your cool. Could you let us know more? How do I get calm? Send someone right now. What makes you think she's being harmed? My neighbor is upset about the noise, but I'm not even there. If I'm not there, how can there be noise? Please move quickly. What do you know about the claim? That's what she asked. He texted me that he's calling you about his complaint. You need to send help, please. I begged. Which address should I use to report the noise? She went on. Having to deal with this was worse than calling a call center or an audio system. Thank goodness it wasn't an emergency. I gave you my home address. Hold on a second. After 30 seconds, she came back. I'm now going to transfer your call. After 30 seconds, a man's voice answered the phone. Hello, my name is Potts and I work for the Intimate Crimes Division. Could you tell me who is talking? Thank goodness. My name is Adam Spencer. Send help to my fiancée. There is a terrible event going on. I acted like I was going to cry. We have a unit close by. We just need to make sure of something. Please do not take this the wrong way, but the noise complaint sounded like closeness. Is it possible that someone else is there with your fiancée? Or, she might have someone else over. No matter how much I whined, nothing changed. Now is the time to get mad. In 3 weeks, we'll be married. What do you think? I'm going to sue you and the department if this makes her sick in any way. I'm going to use your name on every TV show and letter I write. Sir, please calm down. We're going to look into this. What was your fiancée supposed to do tonight? What is her name? I was ready for this. Georgina, she was in King's Cross with her friends for her bachelorette party. The paper said that's where the criminals were going. Okay, there's a unit nearby. They're going to stop by. Are you calling from your cell phone? The number will let us keep you up to date. Yes. Should I also go there? No, don't move until we call you. After that, he hung up. Things didn't go as planned. It was my plan for them to break in and make a mess. I didn't think the ape claim would hold water, but it would be hard to explain the pills on the coffee table. There was no action for 20 minutes. Then I got a text message on my phone. It came from my neighbor below. I'm sorry, man. I thought it was you up there. The police are on their way with guns, helmets, and other things. I hope George is okay. We are praying for you both. They really did fall for it. Quickly, I looked at my security feed one more time. This had to be seen. I was shocked when I turned on the camera in the bedroom. Tom and Carl had George's legs and arms tied to the bed frame with a couple of my work ties. They took turns being close to her. Their sexy game was about to go wrong, but she seemed to enjoy it. I moved the camera to the living room and pointed it at the door, but nothing had happened yet. I hoped that when Georgia screamed again, it would make the police act quickly. After 3 minutes, I began to doubt what my neighbor said, but then the door slowly opened. 2 police officers went inside and looked around the living area. They told the 4 people waiting outside what to do, and everyone moved toward the bedroom. It was still going on with Georgia when I went back to the bedroom camera. Carl was making out with her face. What was about to happen was completely unknown to them. Then chaos broke out. The police broke down the door with their lights on. "Armed police, get on the floor now," they yelled. Carl and Tom were caught off guard. One of them got kicked in the chest, which knocked him out. Even though there was a lot going on, Tom kept going until another officer grabbed him by the hair and pulled him off of Georgia. He then dropped Tom on the ground next to Carl. What a sight. Both Carl and Tom were naked and lying on the floor with their hands cuffed behind their backs. 2 police officers were sitting on them. Georgia was tied to the bed and had strangers with magnums all around her. While they helped Carl and Tom get up and led them out the door, one of the officers put a blanket over her and began untying her. The guys finally found their voice. "What the heck is going on?" Tom yelled. "You sick jerks will have to pay for this. Where you're going, you'll be the one suffering." As the officer pushed Tom against the doorframe, he growled. "She liked it." Carl spoke up and said it was an ape, but he felt bad about it when another officer slammed the butt of his tool into Carl's stomach, making him fall forward and hit his face. The guys were let out of the room, and a female officer came in to take charge of Georgia. Georgia was now free and wrapped in a blanket. She sat Georgia down in a chair by the window and spoke softly to her to calm her down. "George, don't be scared. You're safe now. The senior sergeant will call your fiancé and tell him to come meet us at the hospital." "The hospital?" "Yes, you need to be checked out. Would you like your mom to be there too? The hospital has a great group of people who can help you through this tough time. They have helped people who have been hurt before." She looked like a deer caught in headlights, stunned. "Ape," she couldn't say. "Do not worry, honey, they can no longer hurt you. Do not rush. Soon, the paramedics will be here." It was going to be interesting. Would she say that they were apes or try to lie to get out of it? There would be a lot of pressure to make a choice. Either say you were offended or admit you were close to someone voluntarily and be called promiscuous. Everyone in the room knew she was going to marry him. I changed the camera to see what was going on with Tom and Carl. An officer in plain clothes asked them about the pills while they sat on the couch in their underwear, but they didn't say anything. "Guys, let's go. We found a lot of pills here. Most likely, you're no longer using it for personal reasons and are now dealing. That could get you at least 3 years in prison, and that's before the ape charges are added. It wasn't an ape, that's all." To go further, Tom said firmly, "We're exercising our right to remain silent and waiting for our lawyer." The officer said it again, "Help us out now, and we can all finish this early." The guys kept quiet and looked like they were dead. The officer told his coworkers, "Fine, have it your way. Get them in the van, drive them to the station, and then let them make their call." Armed police officers helped Tom and Carl get off the couch and led them out the door. The other officer then motioned for the female officer to join him outside the bedroom. It was too quiet for me to hear them talking, though. The female officer went back to Georgia when they were done, and the other officer called a number. My phone started ringing all of a sudden. "How are you?" I tried to sound really worried. "Hi, Mr. Spencer. This is Senior Sergeant Potts. What's going on? Are you sure you found Georgia? Is she all right?" "What?" The sergeant stopped me from asking more questions quickly. "Mr. Spencer, calm down. You're going to marry her. Soon, she'll be taken to the hospital." "Oh my God, is she okay?" "Yes, it's just a checkup to be safe. I will tell you more at the hospital. In 10 minutes, we should get to St. Vincent's. When you get there, call me, and I'll meet you and tell you about our plan." He hung up before I could ask him another crazy question. I left Tony's place and called a taxi. Things went better than I thought they would, but I wasn't sure what the police thought about what happened. Georgia or Tom and Carl? Who would they go with? To stay in charge of this situation, I had to stay alert. A police officer met me at the hospital and showed me to a room off to the side. A tall, thin man with a big nose was on the phone inside. I was told to wait, and then the officer poked his head into the room to let the man know I was there. He walked up to me with his hand outstretched after hanging up the phone. He told me his name was Potts and shook my hand. My name is Adam Spencer. Where's my girlfriend? She is with the doctor right now. Soon, you'll be able to see her. But first, I'd like to talk to you for a moment. He walked over to a chair at the desk and sat down across from me. He continued after clearing his throat. 5 armed police officers went into your apartment earlier tonight and caught 2 men who had your fiancée tied to your bed. They were getting close. We have them at the police station and are questioning them right now. Your future wife. Georgia, I spoke up. Georgia is being checked out by medical staff and is currently giving statements. She's almost done. Senior Sergeant Potts said, in the meantime, I have a few questions that will help us understand everything. Do we really need all of this? Don't you think Georgia's health should come first? I said, I just want to see her. Sir, you'll see her soon, but let me make a few things clear first. He leaned forward and ran his hand through his hair. Where did you spend the night? What does that matter? I asked in a normal way. Gavin might not be here now if you were at home. Okay, I get it. I was at the house of a friend. We had my bachelor party this past weekend. We got back from Brisbane late, and one of my groomsmen insisted that we keep the party going at his house, I said. In what place was this? I believe it was Renwick or one of the eastern suburbs close by. Around what time did your neighbor call you about the noise? I'm not sure. I need to check my phone. I took out my phone and scrolled through my messages. The text should have a timestamp, I said. I'd like to show you some pictures on my phone at 11:45 p.m. They are some of the men we have in custody. Let me know if you know them, he said. Is this a normal thing to do? Just a guess. These 2 don't look like they would be criminals. He showed me the pictures on his phone and said, they look more like young office workers to me. I tried to look shocked and then mad. What? Is this a joke? Why do you have pictures of Carl and Tom? I asked for. Who are Carl and Tom? Tom is my best friend. Carl is going to be my best man. What's going on? They were the 2 men we saw at your apartment without any clothes on. Why did they not come to your party? They got out of Brisbane early. That's what they said, they had work tomorrow. I slouched in my chair to make it look like I had lost. Someone behind me spoke. Mick, may I talk to you? It was the police officer from my building. Mr. Spencer, could you please go outside for a moment? She asked. I left my phone on the chair as I got up and walked out the door. Setting it up to record my talk with the sergeant was something I did because I thought it might be useful later. After a short talk, they both left at the same time. My fiancée and I will be back soon. She said as she left, I mean, Georgia, soon. When they talked, I took out my phone, put in my earpiece, and listened. The police officer started. All the checks have been made. A note has been written down, but she hasn't signed it yet. How do you really feel about this? The sergeant asked. It's not quite right. She has been close, but I don't think consent was a problem. Her story sounds like it was written for a TV show. She said it was possible that she was just having one last fling before her wedding. That's also how I feel. The guy is being held, and he seems more like a preppy type. The pills are safe enough for the night. But what about her boyfriend? He seems like he's trying too hard to be shocked. What should we do next? Sergeant thought for a while. Along with me, read George's letter. You might think of a question I forgot to ask. She said, before she signs, you can talk about the consequences of giving a false statement. I've been the good cop. Okay. How tough am I? Will she go crazy? He asked. She could be a victim, even if we're not sure. It doesn't look like she was hurt. It's more likely that she feels bad or is afraid of being caught. You could scare her a little to find out the truth. Then let's go find out. As the sergeant stood up, the chair got away. After that, there was silence until I stopped the recorder. I was interested in what Georgia would do. When I looked at my watch, I saw that it was time to start my plan for getting even. I looked through my list of contacts, called the number, and it was there. "Hello, this is Adam. Why are you awake at this time?" Eric told him. "It's a long story. I'll tell you later over a beer, but I wanted to know if your column for tomorrow's paper is set in stone." I asked about the beginning of the fiscal year is always a slow time for rumors. "Have any interesting news?" It got Eric's attention. "Would you like to hear about 2 young men who are on the fast track to the boardroom and are being charged with assault and drug crimes?" I made fun of them. "Of course. That's just the kind of gossip I like. May I use their names?" Eric was eager to ask. "Don't use names if you don't want to get sued. Put it in the Guess Who Doesn't Sue line." Eric often ended his columns with a section called Guess Who Don't Sue. In this section, he spread juicy rumors that hadn't been confirmed and didn't name names. Staff would try to figure out who was being talked about during morning tea breaks. Let the cat out of the bag. To write my cryptic clues, I need to know more about the subject. Eric pushed. I tried to stay calm and say, "It's Tom and Carl. Who are your best man and groomsmen? You're making fun of your friends, right? What did they look for? Your mom?" I made a joke. "My fiancée, or should I say ex-fiancée?" I said it with anger. "Oh," Eric paused, his answer coming as a surprise. "Did you already know this?" I asked. Eric cautiously said, "No, but I'm not entirely surprised." "What do you think that means?" A nurse gave me a stern look when I raised my voice. "Well, Georgia and her boss have been linked for a while now." Eric said, "I couldn't confirm it, so I didn't bring it up." "Does she also sleep with her boss?" I almost yelled. "Most likely, but the story was that she was offered as a bonus to possible clients," Eric admitted in a sheepish tone. "I don't know how I missed all of this." "Adam, it's called love. Do you want me to do everything I can for this?" Eric told him. "That's why I called. Let's make those jerks look bad." "It's a deal." We said goodbye to each other and hung up. A police officer came down the hall and up to me. Her step was sure, and she looked great. Oh, the allure of women in uniform. She stopped in front of me. "My name is Constable Haven. I help people who have been hurt by crime a lot. May I have a quick chat? Georgia is going to be here soon, and I hope I can help you both get through this together." While she talked, I smiled and listened. It seemed like a long time until she got down on her knees and spoke to me. Most of the time, I looked at her chest. I stood up and played the worried fiancé when Georgia and Sergeant Potts came over. I hugged Georgia while she cried. Even though I was planning something else in secret, I reassured her that everything would be fine. I had plans for the other 3 people in my bridal party who were already in trouble. I got their cards from both of them before we left. Georgia told me she loved me and thanked me over and over again on the way home. Georgia wanted to be close to me while I cleaned up the apartment, but I was done being intimate with her. I chose to make an appointment to see the doctor soon. "Let's go, kid," she begged. "I need you to hug me. First I need to clean up. You sleep. I'll be there soon." She finally gave up because she was too tired to keep going. After that, I got the video from my security system and watched it again. It was very clear that there was no crime, which led to one charge of making a false report. The guys were high when they told someone that Tony gave them their drugs. I knew he sold pills, but I didn't know he took them. That meant he had to pay pills. They also talked about a big purchase they planned to make with Tony's help and double their money, which could lead to serious charges for possession with intent to distribute. Good lawyers might have kept them out of jail, but they lost their jobs. At the time I sent the CCTV footage to the police, I wasn't sure if Jeff was involved. I was going to email it later, but I decided to call early, around 3 a.m., to leave a voicemail and show that I wasn't trying to hide anything. Sergeant Potts answered, which was a surprise. "How are you, Senior Sergeant Potts?" He seemed annoyed. I hoped I wasn't doing anything to wake him up. "It's Adam. Adam Spencer. We met at the hospital where I picked up my fiancée. I hope I didn't wake you up." "Not at all, no. I work the night shift. I stay awake until 8 a.m. His mood wasn't getting better. "Listen, I don't want to bother you too much, but in my apartment there are 3 CCTV cameras that are linked to a hard drive. To try to sell it, I sniffled and cleared my throat." "Really?" That caught his eye. "Why did you not bring this up earlier? Have you looked at it?" I could almost picture him sitting up all of a sudden and leaning forward, excited. I forgot because there was so much going on. I have. I took a break and sniffled again. "I'm sorry, it's hard. You know," I looked at it and then stopped quickly. The sergeant fell for it. "What?" "Adam, what did you see?" "Adam, are you still there?" "I don't think it was Ape." Oh my God, they came in laughing and kissing together. I faked a cry and let out a choked sob. "What did you know about the pills?" The sergeant pushed. Even though he knew the ape story wasn't true, he still seemed eager to blame the boys for something. "After that, I didn't watch much, but they put them on the coffee table." I told a lie. "That video needs to be shown to me. 2 powerful lawyers are here making a lot of noise about lawsuits. Could you send it to me?" "I think I could email it. I'll give you an address in a moment. We need to quickly get it." He hung up after giving me the address. I sent a copy of the whole video from all 3 cameras from my computer. It was hard for me to fall asleep in the spare room because I kept rolling over and over with my eyes closed. I was shocked at how badly I had judged my girlfriend and my friends. My phone rang around 5 o'clock. "I'm sorry if I woke you up from a deep sleep." Sergeant Potts was calling, and he sounded a lot better. I quickly replied, "I was in bed, but I'm having trouble sleeping." "Okay, I can see why that would be, given the situation. I'm not going to keep you. Could we get coffee when I get off work at 8? I'd like to talk to you about a few updates." "Yes, I don't have anything else planned." My answer had a bitter taste to it. "Do you know of a coffee shop in Surrey Hills that's right next to the Oxford Tavern?" "I do not go in there very often. There are too many police." "I think there are, yes. I'll see you at 8 though." The call ended, and I went back to shaking and turning in my sleep. I took a shower when I woke up at 7 a.m. Georgia was still asleep, or at least she looked like she was. Before she could come up with a story, I didn't think she was eager to talk to me. I turned on some morning TV shows to take my mind off of the last 24 hours. I quickly paid attention to the main story on the 7.30 news. The Pills Squad police did an early morning raid in Bronte, a beachside suburb. A 2-story house was searched, and 2 men were arrested in connection with a drugs ring in the city. People who lived in the house before said the person living there was a nice young man who worked for a bank in the city. The police aren't saying anything else yet, but they did say that a lot of pills were found. They also said they had other people in custody, who they hope can help with their investigation. Oh yeah, that's right, you jerks. It would make Sergeant Potts happy. As I was getting ready to meet the sergeant, I thought back to my conversation with the gossip columnist. I went back to the computer and looked at the online file. Which famous PR executive and socialite's upcoming wedding plans are on hold after she was caught with a couple of the bridesmaids? The answer is at the bottom of the CBD column, under the bold heading "Guess Who Don't Sue." Sadly, her soon-to-be ex-boyfriend and rising star in the world of private banking wasn't one of them. People in the city would be chatting about that at the water cooler this morning because it looks so good. I thought of George's parents all of a sudden. They were good people, so they didn't deserve to hear about the problems from someone else. That same day, I called them, and George's dad, Jack, answered. "Hi Adam, how's the Bucks weekend going?" It was over early because of trouble in Brisbane. Could I meet you and Janice this morning? Adam, what's wrong? I could hear worry in his voice. I didn't want to talk about the details with Jack over the phone, so I asked him to meet me in person later that morning at a pastry shop close to his old office. He agreed, but warned me not to make any decisions until I had all the facts. Even though he told me not to, I was sure of what I knew and left for our meeting, enjoying Sydney's mild, sunny weather. At the coffee shop, Sergeant Potts told me how the case was going. The CCTV footage couldn't be used in court, but it did help the police get the suspects to lie to each other while they were being questioned separately. They went to Tony's house and found more pills there. Tony finally gave in when he was pushed and agreed to name his supplier in exchange for a deal. The suspects were set to have a bail hearing, and Tony might have gone along if he cooperated with the prosecutor. The lawyers didn't like that the hearing was going to be open to the public. As the subject changed, Sergeant Potts hinted that he had doubts about my ability to access the CCTV and its logs from afar, saying that he might look into it further. He reassured me, though, that his attention was not on me, but on figuring out what I was planning to do with Georgia. Georgia might be charged with making a false statement, but the sergeant said that charge might not stick. He told me that he could press the charge if I wanted revenge, or he could drop it to avoid extra paperwork. I had to decide what I wanted to do. After drinking my juice, I went outside into the sun and decided to go to work looking messy to start office rumors, even though it made me feel bad, because I wanted to hurt Tom and Carl's reputation at the bank. As I walked into the bank, people were whispering and nudging each other. As I made my way to the elevator, the usual chatter was briefly silenced by an awkward encounter between a secretary and the mailman. When I was alone with the secretary on the CEO's floor, she gave me her phone number in case I needed help, but I threw it away when she left. Then I went to the CEO's office, where his usually distant secretary showed a surprised display of empathy. She told me that Mr. Turnbull was ending a call and would be right back to see me. I was let in after a short wait. When Mr. Turnbull saw me, he was surprised and said that the strange events that led to my visit were true. I told them that I needed more time off because of personal issues with coworkers and a PR firm we worked with. I talked about the events of my bachelor party, which ended too soon, including how the police found my fiancée and 2 coworkers with pills. Mr. Turnbull told me to take as much time as I needed and that we'd talk again on Monday. When the PR firm came up, he seemed clearly worried. He said they would start an internal investigation, which sounded like a hint that there might be more trouble with another executive. I took a taxi to the bakery to meet Georgia's parents. I looked at my security system while I waited. Georgia was texting while she was in her underwear in the kitchen and then letting someone in. It was Jeff, who was also a groomsman. They were cautious around each other in the living room, with Georgia being more outgoing. While I was away, Jack told me he came by himself because his wife, Janice, was upset about a story in a gossip column about us. He wanted to sue the author, but I told him it was all true and that it would cost too much to fight. He knew what happened with Georgia and the groomsmen because I told him. He thought they had raped her until I showed him the live security footage. After that, he thought I was making it up. I called Georgia on his phone while she was reaching for hers to show Jack what was going on. He felt stressed out and worried about his wife when he realized the wedding couldn't happen. We didn't talk about Georgia when we left the bakery to clear our minds. Jack asked when I would tell her everything and to be kept in the loop, especially before I did anything bad. Jack left in a taxi after an awkward goodbye, and I kept walking, thinking about what to do next. When I looked at my CCTV feed again, I saw that the scene ended with Jeff getting ready to leave and Georgia getting dressed. Jeff was engaged to Penny Rhinehill, who was the daughter of a rich Australian with big mining interests. This could have put his personal and professional futures at risk. I thought about using the CCTV footage to ruin Jeff's wedding and maybe even get rid of his job at Penny's family business. At the same time, I planned to use Georgia's help to further my own goals, sure that I had enough power to affect her actions. I was looking forward to seeing how Georgia would handle things when I got home, but she wasn't there. I didn't expect that, but it put off the inevitable fight we were going to have. I also had time to make Penny a highlight reel. The talk Jeff had with Georgia when he got there was also interesting. Carl and Tom's lawyers sent him over to find out what she told the police. I thought about charging him with tampering with a witness, but it didn't seem like a good idea. I was sure Penny would think of much worse ways to punish people. He asked her over and over about the pills and what she told the police. She said she only talked about the ape. Jeff told them that they weren't being charged with ape, just with having and selling pills. She then fell asleep on the couch, and he moved to comfort her. It was likely because she knew the ape story wasn't true that she left the apartment. The apartment door opened around 5 p.m., while I was making dinner for myself. I heard Georgia and one of her bridesmaids, Shelley, walk into the living room. Their high heels clicked on the wooden floor. They seemed to be staying together to stay safe. Georgia let Adam into her arms and asked, "Adam, sweetheart, where have you been?" as she got closer. "We're really scared." Georgia sniffled and tried not to cry. I kept my arms at my sides and tried to keep my voice steady, so I didn't hug her back. I told them I was busy with the police, my boss, and your dad. Georgia got tense because she was caught off guard, but she tried to stay calm. "Shelley is here to tell you that my drinks at the bachelorette party last night were spiked, which got me kicked out of the club. Since Tom and Carl were there, they offered to drive me home, which is when they lied to me. I moved out of the way when she tried to hug me again." "Really? Shelley, did that really happen?" I said in a sarcastic way. Shelley agreed with Georgia that it was just some fun that got out of hand. "Also, did you put something in her coffee before she slept with Jeff this morning?" I added. Shelley was shocked and her mouth was open. Georgia looked at us both and tried to figure out what to say. Shelley was the first to talk. "Girlfriend, you're on your own now," she yelled as she left the room. Georgia tried to stop her, but Shelley just shrugged and gave her one last jab. "I knew you liked going out, but I had no idea you were such a slut." We were left alone when the door slammed shut. She looked at me with tears in her eyes and started to say sorry and make excuses. "This morning I was drunk and mad. There have been 2 times only. Please. I'll be okay." I yelled as I finished the beer I had started with, "You're so weak." I made fun of him twice by imitating Tom's voice. "I've missed you so much, God." Then Georgia's answer. "It missed you too, Tom." It was the second time Georgia looked shocked. "But how did you remember that I told you about the cameras and security system when you first moved in?" I cut you off. She said, "Yeah, but you said you didn't use them." "I don't know, but they're still going 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I thought the police might need a copy to show that they raped you. However, it only showed that you were lying. I told you." Tears were constantly running down and off of her cheeks and into her eyes. She stooped down and leaned against the wall. To be honest, she looked sad, small, and pitiful. Once I made up my mind, I asked the sergeant to drop the charges of making a false statement. But I wouldn't tell her until I knew why she did it. If she knew at all. I went over to Georgia and helped her get up. I then led her to the kitchen table. She tried to grab me, but I moved away, got 2 beers from the fridge, and sat down next to her, cracking them open. I gave her one and then drank from mine. "I want you to know that we're done." "Okay. I told you." She gave a quiet nod. The police officer asked if I wanted him to catch you lying. "I have to make up my mind by tonight at 6 p.m. You have 30 minutes to give me honest answers, and then I'll let him off the hook, I promise." "Adam, don't do this." I stopped her before she could say anything. "Do what I ask or wait for the police." I firmly cut them off. It was her second nod. She took the beer I gave her and drank it all at once. "A friend in the city told me that you've been seeing your boss in bed. Is that real?" I asked. Georgia gave another nod while wiping her tears off with the back of her hand. "For how long?" "What was it?" "About 9 months. Her answer was a loud sniffle. You've only been there 10 times. What the hell are you thinking? I screamed. I was hired to be on a new business team that was supposed to be the best in the market. Georgia explained while sniffling once more. After a month, my boss Jeremy called me into his office. He wasn't happy. She took a break and drank some more. I couldn't stand how she kept sniffling. I went to the sideboard and got a box of tissues. She blew her nose loudly and went on. Jeremy told me I wasn't doing enough to help. I told him I worked harder than everyone else. He walked over to me, stood in front of me, and told me I was hired because of my skills. It was time to put them to use. Then he began taking my blouse off. Oh my, that's a real intimate offense. Why did you let that happen? Simple for you to say. You are a genius. The youngest person to ever get $1 million bonus. Making a name for myself, I was on my 3rd job in 2 years. She no longer cried, instead, she was angry. You slept with your boss? That's one way to get a bad name ahead of you. We got 4 big accounts because of what I said. I was shocked that she was proud of running a business as a prostitute. They will now throw you out into the street and make you work hard again. I don't believe that. Because Jeremy wanted insurance, I secretly recorded some of the things we did together. To keep myself safe, I kept copies. That was really cool. I might be able to mess up that jerk if I could get a copy of her and Mr. Turnbull. The copies are kept where? I hoped it wasn't at work when I asked. On your desk at work? I slammed my beer bottle on the table and said, damn it. What's wrong? Georgia had a scared face. I really wish I had a copy of one with you and Mr. Turnbull. I got up and went to the window. I've never. She stopped talking and looked at me. Okay, we. How did you learn? She finally did. It seems pretty clear, right? You're getting new clients by using your strengths. The bank we work with is one of them. Is that all you need? Georgia yelled, if you want to watch it that badly, I'll just go to work and make a copy. This made her chair fall over as she stood up. I yelled after her, you won't even get through the front door. She stopped and came back to me. What do you mean? Your boss is going to hide his tracks. One of the guards would meet you at the door with your stuff in a box. They wouldn't let you get near the computer. Biting her lip is a clear sign that Georgia was feeling unsure. She dropped her keys back on the table, turned around, and snuck into the office. When I looked in, she was sitting in my chair and starting up the computer. She bragged, I can access my computer from anywhere. I watched as she tried over and over to enter her access code. When she realized I was right, she slouched. She couldn't get in. Stupid. She fell back into the chair, looking like she had lost, but then she got up with new determination. I put the video files on Jeremy's computer through a back door. That's it, yes. I leaned on the chair. I told them to copy everything. You'll need some negotiating power when you talk about severance pay. I needed something to make things hard for my boss more than anything else. After about 20 minutes, Georgia came out of the office grinning and waving a portable hard drive. I left her to work on it. Have you got all the juicy details? Did you get a copy of all of his emails, both ones he sent and ones he received? I asked with hope. Yeah, but I thought you were after the spicy stuff, she joked as she strutted toward me. I put up my hand. Wait a minute. In the last 24 hours, I've seen more of your antics than I could ever remember. That's all I need to protect myself in case the bank comes after me too. But I thought we might be able to try again. Drop everything, move to another country, and start over. Gee, there's not much new about you, unfortunately. I thought you might be drunk when I saw you with Tom and Carl. But today, with Jeff? I'm not going to stay to see how things go because you need help. She began to cry again. I went to the office with the portable hard drive in my hand. Georgia slammed the door behind her as she ran into the bedroom. It was even better than I thought the hard drive would be. It turned out that Jeremy and Mr. Turnbull knew each other. They wrote emails to each other about Georgia and her skills, and they even shared their own threesome file with her. That wasn't the best part, though. They worked together to cheat the bank. To increase the amount of money in his retirement account, Mr. Turnbull asked Jeremy to raise the bid for the PR job. Mr. Turnbull agreed to it, but Jeremy only wrote down the amount that was agreed upon in his company's ledger. They each got half of the difference. I got in touch with Sergeant Potts. He said, "I thought you forgot. Take a look at the time." I replied at 6:05 p.m. "Not at all. I just wanted to be sure I made the right choice." He asked with a tired voice, "What's the decision?" "Do not go after her. Without it, things could get hard for her." "Do you know anyone in the fraud squad?" "I might," he said slowly. "Why do you ask?" To avoid the question, I said, "I'll fill you in later." I did not want to say too much. He laughed out loud. "Who is going to be surprised this time?" Before I hung up, I said, "You'll see." Then I called George's dad to come get her. Tonight I wanted to sleep in my own bed. Then I gave Penny, Jeff's fiancée, a copy of the morning's encounter between Jeff and Georgia. It was hard, but I hoped it would keep her from getting hurt more. After about 40 minutes, Jack showed up. Georgia didn't want to come out of the bedroom at first, but she did, and I helped her pack up some of her things. They left. Eric from the paper called my phone. "Did you like my article today?" Eric asked with a voice full of excitement. "Yeah," I said in a flat, unconvincing voice. "Let's be honest, we're not having second thoughts, are we?" I wanted to hurt them, but I thought of Jack and Janice and how I was hurting other people too. In war, there is always damage to other people. "Which person do you want me to go after tomorrow?" I thought about it for a while. "Are you still there?" Eric told him. "Yes, I was just thinking." He was on the lookout for another meal like a scavenger. "The two groomsmen who were caught with Georgia and another person will be charged with drug crimes tomorrow." He said, "Sorry buddy, but 3 bankers caught with a joint won't cut it." His disappointment was clear. I added that it wasn't possession charges but charges for importing and selling. "That's better now." "Bankers in the sky, eh?" Eric had a laugh. "Do you have anything else for me, buddy, or is that it?" I didn't say for sure, but I'll get in touch if there's anything else. I was done for the day at that point. I got rid of my landline, turned off my phone, closed all the blinds, and tried to sleep. It was 9:30 in the morning when someone banged on my door. It was Greg, who was in charge of the building. "Adam, what's wrong with your phone?" He said, "I've been trying to call you." I turned them off. I needed to sleep without being woken up. "What's going on?" I replied, a little annoyed. "These guys have been waiting for you downstairs for an hour." Greg took a step back and saw 2 men, one in a security guard uniform holding a box and the other in a suit. The man in the suit came forward with a piece of paper in his hand. "Mr. Adam Spencer?" "Yes," I assured you. "I work in the legal department of the bank. I'm here to tell you that your contract with us has ended because you've harmed the bank's reputation. You will get 2 weeks' pay as a severance package, and James has your personal items from your desk." The security guard put the box on the floor and gave me a check. I was shocked. I snapped out of it when they were almost back to the elevator. "Wait. I made a new deal 3 weeks ago that promises to pay me for 9 months plus half of my last bonus." I yelled after them. "I don't know anything about that, sir." The man in the suit told the security guard, "If you want to talk to the bank about it, you should get a lawyer." He then left with the guard for the elevator. The building manager gave them a shrug and followed them. "I'm sorry, buddy." I took the box inside. It only had a few photos and the things in my desk drawers. They were not going to get away with it. I called the lawyer who looked over the contract I just signed before I signed it. "Did your new deal start right away?" He said, you know, legal stuff can go either way. Not yet, nope. Replied, showed to hit my account this Thursday. That's why they're being tough. You need to fight for it. What game do you want to play? I could go to court right now, and who knows, maybe we'll have a hearing by the end of the month. Lawyers are so annoying. Could we talk to my boss first? I told him, I have something that might change his mind about their stance. There's nothing fishy, right? Carefully, he asked. I told him there was nothing I could have done. Is there anything missing from the box they gave you? The man asked. Hold on a second. I found my golf clubs in the storage area next to the executive dining room. Wonderful. Worthwhile? He asked. About $20,000, give or take. I said it in a casual way. That's it? What kind of gold? He screamed. Not at all. It's just platinum with gold inlays. A nice set of Honda clubs. Still, half a set. I told them that a full set costs about 50 grand. He said, wow, I'll start getting access to them. Today, can you do it by 1? I pressed. I'll try, but it's hard for me, he said, hesitating. I told you, take the order and meet me at the front door. You'll get the clubs. Okay, then. He said, see you there. After breakfast, I got ready for this later fight. He always went to the executive dining room between midnight and 1 a.m., so anything going on outside would catch his eye. I looked at the Herald website before leaving. It was Eric's joke about high-flying bankers, and it was about a billionaire heiress who broke off her engagement. He said Penny and Jeff, but I hadn't. Where did he get that? At 1 o'clock, I was still waiting outside the bank's main office. The lawyer showed up 5 minutes late and pulled a paper out of his pocket like a pro. I had to wait until the magistrates were done with their morning work to get this signed, the lawyer yelled. What can I do with it? As we walked toward the front door, I asked. I wanted to get general access, but the guy made it hard for me. He explained that it only lets you get into the building and grab your golf clubs. I said, I hope that's all I need. We got to the front door. Inside, the security guard who had just returned my office supplies was in my way. He told 2 other guards to join him and said, sorry, sir, I've been told to stop you from entering the building. I showed the legal paper. This is a court order that lets me into the building. I told him to move aside as I tried to get past him. He took the order and spoke into his shoulder microphone. I need to check this first. After a short time, the lift doors opened, and the same guy from this morning came out. He quickly scanned the court order after putting on his reading glasses. He told me as he gave me the order back, someone's been busy. You can only go to and from the storeroom with this. Then he told the guard to take him to the executive storage room and then dump him on the street. The guard was right behind me as I walked toward the executive lifts. When I got my clubs out of the storage room, I dropped them in the hallway and made a lot of noise. Some jerk stole my fairway wood. I yelled as I stomped up the hallway to the executive dining room. The guard said, you can't go up there, sir. He tried to grab my arm but failed. I got close to the dining room when the guard caught up to me and grabbed me just as Mr. Turnbull walked through the door. He asked, what's all this noise? Then he saw me and yelled, what is he doing in here? The guard picked me up by my collar and said, sorry, sir. He had a court order. I gave up because Mr. Turnbull was right in front of me. Mr. Turnbull, it's great to see you too, I joked. I think you might want to look over my package for leaving my job. He told the guard, not a chance. Get this jerk out of here right now. I took a flash drive from my pocket and threw it to him. I told you not to look at that when your wife is around, but you should when you have a chance. Mr. Turnbull's eyes got very dark. What do you want to say? Pick up the phone and call Jeremy. He might tell you that I spat. Whatever gets him out of here, Mr. Turnbull said in a rude voice. He wasn't scared when his name was brought up. He must have thought that angle was taken care of. He crossed the room and put the flash drive back in his pocket. I was being dragged up the hall by the guard. "You have 24 hours. I yelled at the door as it shut. "I think you have my cell phone number." On the way back, I got the clubs. The guard didn't let go of my arm until I was back in the front yard. My lawyer was ready, and he took my clubs away. I was content. I could buy another set if I got the deal I signed up for 3 weeks ago. When I went to bed and hadn't heard anything, I got a little worried. At 11:30 p.m., my phone told me that I had a message. "You got it. Meet me at the Centennial Park coffee shop at 6:45 a.m. I got to the park at 6:30 the next morning in hopes of being the first one there. It's clear that Mr. Turnbull thought the same thing. As I walked down one side, he came up the other. We sat about 3 meters apart as we awkwardly walked toward each other. "How would you like the tape?" he said in a rage. "What my new contract says I should get." I was just as angry as he was. That deal wasn't good until Thursday. That could be argued as a fact. I also don't have time for the conversation to go through our legal system. He growled, "I never thought you were a blackmailer." His face turned red. I replied, "I never thought you'd be so low as to mess around with your employee's fiancée." We stared at each other until Mr. Turnbull gave in. "Okay," but he said, "give me the pictures and any copies you have." "Not a problem." I replied, "You'll get the pictures as soon as I get a signed document from the bank proving my claim is valid." He told me you'd get it today. Getting ready to go. "One more thing." I also said, "I want the same lawyer you sent over yesterday to bring the papers." "That would be funny." "Is there anything else?" he asked in a sarcastic way. I smiled and said, "Nope, that's all I need." He took a short walk away and then came back closer this time. "You'll never find work here, you know that." He hissed, "Hell, this country ever again, you little jerk." I laughed as he walked away. "Nice doing business with you." I still had the emails that Turnbull and Jeremy sent to each other. As soon as the money hit my bank account, I'd give them to the fraud squad. The next few days were quiet until a lawyer from the bank came by with some papers for me to sign and promised to pay me by Thursday. I gave him a thumb drive and a hard drive with data on them, but he looked down when he left. George's situation had gotten worse by Thursday. She was arrested for DUI and lost her license after confronting her boss while drunk. The same day, her parents came to get her things from my house. At the same time, Tom, Carl, and Tony were released on bail, but the prosecutor brought up their case in a media statement about pill problems in the business world. Jeff had been reported missing. It was said that Penny's family sent him to a dangerous mining project in South America. That afternoon, a large amount of money, $720,000, was sent to my bank account. The next day, fraud and securities detectives came to my house to talk about some suspicious emails. I told them I got them illegally, which made me angry because they couldn't be used in any legal action. After that, it was hard to get a new job because Mr. Turnbull seemed to have hurt my reputation in the banking industry. Penny Reinhill gave me a way out while I was thinking about what to do next. She invited me to go on the family jet to Mauritius with her for a long vacation at their fancy compound. Because I made this decision on the spot, I took a 5-month break that was full of new adventures, not just with Penny but with other people as well. It was a crazy time in my life. I mostly went back to see Mr. Turnbull's trial for fraud and racketeering. At first, he was sure of himself because he had a strong legal team, but by the end of the first day, the prosecution showed strong proof that he worked with Jeremy on the PR deal. The bank stopped supporting Turnbull because Jeremy turned state's evidence and agreed to testify against him in exchange for a lesser charge. By the second day, the bank's lawyers had given up on him, leaving him with little legal help and announcing that they would be filing civil suits to get their money back. The prosecution quickly took advantage of this, and the defense's desperate use of video footage of Turnbull, Jeremy, and Georgia to try to shift blame failed to change the story. Georgia and Jeremy were both dragged deeper into the scandal when they were called to testify, which made the media even more excited. Even though the defense tried to discredit Tom and Carl's statements, the judge believed them, and Turnbull was officially charged. He finally admitted guilt and was given a 2.5-year sentence. However, he was able to give his wife all of his assets, and she then filed for divorce, leaving him with nothing. Because the case was so public, the Department of Public Prosecutions also brought charges against Jeremy and Georgia. Jeremy was charged with multiple crimes and got a 3-year prison sentence. Georgia, on the other hand, got a suspended sentence for her part in the recordings, but her reputation took a big hit. During the ordeal, I was closely watched and given the wrong name in the financial world, which hurt my chances of getting a job forever. You have to get by on your own when no one will hire you. I started a venture capital firm that invests in green projects. I'm not making a lot of money, but I'm making ends meet and hoping to make a difference. I kept in touch with Penny, but she was a jerk, while I wasn't. I'm still looking, but it's hard for me to trust people. Just now, I started a project to fix up some wetlands 700 kilometers west of Sydney, in the middle of nowhere. It's being paid for by 2 mining companies and a bank to improve their public image. The house I'll be living in is an old one that used to be the main house for a huge sheep station on the Darling River. I hope that the open air and big sky will make things better for me.